Hi, everybody. Welcome to the inaugural broadcast, live stream, webcast, whatever you want to call it, of Hi-Fi Happy Hour on YouTube. It's kind of official. This is now a thing. So we're not going to change formats too much. Some general announcements, some little bit of time for everybody to come get here and say hi, hello. The good news is that I can see the chat a lot better. Yes, this is the background because I am in Vegas. So I took my LA system. I took a photo and put it up here. And we have a very special guest tonight and some really, really big news that we're unveiling. So what do I want to say other than thank you for everybody that voted to put Hi-Fi Happy Hour on YouTube. You got your wish. So thank you for making your voices heard. Part of what I want to do as that hi-fi girl is to make sure that we're always serving the community and listening to everybody in audio and in hi-fi so that we can all have a really, really good time. Hello, audio acoustic engineering. Hello, hi-fi. I love your emoji icons there. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our guest who is very graciously agreed to join us tonight, Chris Rensman from Analog Restorations. If you follow him on Instagram, you know he is the record mat guy, but he is so much more than that. And that's why I want you to bring him on tonight to talk to him, to let you hear from him, his story, his experience, his insights, his information. And yeah, so I'm not going to say any more. I'm just going to bring him on right now. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for being on Hi-Fi Happy Hour, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How's it going?
It's going.
It's going good. It's Friday. It's
It is Friday.
I will say cheers to you with my new that hi-fi girl glass.
I have to show the other side because of
okay.
Her face.
Ooh.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hi everybody. So I think I want to start before we dive into the bicycle inside joke and your history and the name Analog Restorations and what you're doing now. Can we start by unveiling the news, the big news?
Of course. Let's do it.
Okay. You do it.
You
get the honor.
You do it.
Yeah, you do it.
No, it's your stuff.
This is so exciting.
It's your stuff. You have it in your hand.
So do you.
Well, mine. Yeah, somewhere. Yes, you're correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I will I'll tell the story and you jump in and you augment it as you see fit then. How's that?
Sure. Fine.
Okay.
Ready, go.
So I don't even know how it started. I think we followed her on Instagram and I think I reached out to you via like DM or something. And I was like, hey, well, excuse me. This is just a winter cough. It's not COVID. Everybody don't freak out.
I thought you were getting emotional, but okay. All right.
Oh, sorry. What I meant was, I reached out to you on Instagram and, because as many of you know, I do a lot of work with Acoustics as their co-editor and host of their video series. And when we do our Sunday night lives, Jeremy and Eric and Ian all have these really gorgeous, and I found out Lauren too, have these really gorgeous record mats that you made. I just thought they were so cool. And I thought, well, anybody that knows me knows that I can't be late to the party. So I was like, hello, nice to meet you. Listen, I have a question for you, right? And then I think we just got to talking and I went to your website. I really liked, and this was before you redid your website.
Right.
And I dug your message. Like I dug the art, I dug your message, I dug what you were about. And so with that, for anybody that saw our respective Instagram feeds today, then you will know that Analog Restoration has launched we have launched this collaborative team initiative where Chris is doing, I'm going to hold it up, but because of the background, I don't know if y'all are going to be able to see it properly. And it's also because I'm so slick, it's upside down and it disappears. Would you like an invisible record mat?
Yeah, you're making it look really awesome.
I know. I'm sorry.
I saw it for a second. People get the idea.
Right. So There's a bunch of people I gotta bounce out of here. 1 second. Block user. Thank you. Oh yeah, please keep in mind, everybody, this is a family-friendly show, and there's no bullying, and there's no harassment, there's no spam, there's no overt or covert sexualization of people on Hi-Fi Happy Hour. This is happiness and love and cool hi-fi stuff. So if you try me, it's 1 strike and you're out. So we just bounced somebody out, which is awesome. So anyway, Analog Restorations is exclusively making these here. I can hold up a little bit of it and then you can see it. These record mats.
You got part of it.
See it. There you go. Okay.
Oh,
And what's great is you have created for us this incredible exclusive bar set. There, I'm not used to having to turn this around in the camera like this, with coasters and these great frosted glasses. These are not yet available on my website, but they will be shortly. And we are going to be launching a wait list, I think, our pre-order thing starting early next week. And what's so cool is Chris has been so kind and generous to, I didn't even know you were doing this until you messaged me about it. He made this page about what we're doing and like put up some of my videos and some of the product. Like he's got really nice product photography. So if you haven't already been to analogrestorations.com, do that after Hi-Fi Happy Hour. And I'm super stoked because I get to promote you on my website and through THG as well. And there's talk of you potentially, I know there's some audio show that I might be associated with, something, I don't know, something called The Show. I think that there's something happening there with you, and we're not allowed to say yet, but news coming soon.
Like this is live. You can't edit that out. Like that.
No, I cannot edit that out.
Right.
I have said that. Unless goodness forbid something bizarre happens to prevent that from happening. My understanding is that there is an announcement about some other piece of wonderful news that's coming fairly soon. So everybody can stay tuned for that. So with that in mind, I do want to ask you, how did you get into, because we're going to backtrack, how did you get into doing mats? Because that's a very particular thing.
Yeah, it wasn't really what I had set out to do. And I guess, you know, when you're in audio, things kind of take shape, and sometimes you're in control of it, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you feel like you're in control of it and find out that you're not, and then sometimes you think you're not and find out you were.
Right.
So I guess, you know, I had started my bit in audio with really fixing turntables and restoring turntables. And this was before turntables got really involved. So we're talking, about, you know, for me, that was about 12 years ago. And at the time, I didn't know that nobody else was fixing turntables. And then I stopped doing it for a while to become accustomed, because it was a very difficult thing to pick up and learn. So I spent a couple years actually learning it on my own with literally hundreds of tables. And then I decided to open up a couple stores. And I don't know how the transition kind of happened, but it went from like, hey, I'm going to fix a couple turntables, to now I have a store, and, you know, it's like a regular everyday all day thing. And it obviously morphed into other types of audio equipment that I was always interested in and had the skill set to really do. When COVID hit, and, you know, there was a little bit of an issue with our lease. I think the landlords were getting a little bit nervous. You know, everybody was panicking at that time. And I was considering, for many different reasons, generally speaking, how the market had changed. I knew what I was doing had a particular shelf life for the market that I went after, which was your everyday listener. And I knew that was going to change. So I decided, hey, I'm going to get out of it. And when I said that, I meant it. Like, literally, I'm getting out of it, and I'm never going to do this again. And it wasn't out of hatred. It was just like, I'm going to move. And that lasted about 2 months. And I was like, I think I want to make something for a turntable that everybody can use, that I see as a critical flaw with a lot of new stuff that essentially put me out of
Mhm.
business. So your newer turntables that are below $500, your $300 to $500 turntables. A critical flaw for that was a record mat. So I set
Mhm.
out to make a really, really good, affordable record mat for people that were buying normal everyday stuff
Right.
that could really engage them and increase their listening experience without spending a lot of money, because the manufacturer wasn't doing it up front. That's what was keeping the costs down. Then it morphed into, wow, I can put a logo on this. It didn't start as a custom logo thing.
Oh, I
Then
see.
then I was like, wow, I can put a logo on it. And you mentioned like Ian and Jeremy.
Jeremy, yeah.
Yeah, especially like Jeremy's, that was kind of like a, let me push the envelope on this and
Yeah.
see like how crazy can this artwork really get on a cork mat.
Right.
And there was a lot of aspects of that. So I did something crazy for him. I did something even more crazy for Ian. And
Right.
it was really just like a testing to put, and I was like, wow, this has, a capacity much larger than just putting like words on it or something like that.
Right.
And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
where it got me now. So the start was making something for an everyday person that was a legitimate upgrade to their turntable,
Mhm.
because I wasn't a print shop. I was an audio guy.
Right.
The printing kind of came afterwards. And here it is. And now, there's anywhere between like 100 and 110 record shops across the country that carry our mats. Um,
Amazing. That's
they all
great.
have their own branding on it, which I think is important
Right.
for any brick and mortar store.
Sure.
So for a lot of different aspects, it now morphed. It morphed from being a mat to mat with artwork, and now it's not even really just about a mat. It's seems to be for a lot of different people much greater than just a cork mat.
I
Um,
think,
you
well,
know,
I think the thing that's so valuable about well, there's really a couple things that really stuck out to me. One is that obviously offering people something that's affordable for people who are either on a modest budget or are just new to the hobby and are entry level, don't want to spend a ton on a turntable, but want to get something because I love vinyl or whatever. This is a great improvement. And so you're allowing them already to elevate and take that next journey, right?
sure,
Which is
sure.
really important at very low, I mean, reasonable cost, which is really important. But the other thing that you're doing that I just think is so, as a creator and as somebody who works in the industry, I can't stress enough the service that you're providing to the industry insiders is you're advocating for us to have our own identities. And I think that is vital because there are pockets of hi-fi where I think people feel like, oh, especially in like audiophilia world, right? Like, oh, everybody has to listen to jazz piano or everybody has to listen to Diana Krall or Nora Jones. And that's great. Like, I love all that. That's fine. But if you try to listen to something outside of the norm of that and you try to do it on a system that's different than what's classically accepted, then somehow you are shoot, right? And so what you're allowing to have happen is people take the journey in their own way and they personalize it and they get to show a little bit of who they are and what their personality is. And I think that makes hi-fi so much more unique. And I don't know if people have told you that before, but that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I guess I don't. So, and I certainly appreciate that. That's kind of a really remarkable thing to hear. What I guess,
Sure.
see, when I was dealing with brick and mortar stores, I don't really
Mm-hmm.
see, they have that experience, and I want them to have that experience where a customer's coming in, they're holding it in their hand, they're buying it in
Right.
front of them from that store, and their motivation might be to support the store. It might be because they actually need an upgrade. It might be because they're
Mm-hmm.
itching to buy something because they got money in there. Who knows? I mean, the motivation is it, but whatever that motivation is creates an experience that happens inside that store, and I relatively don't
Right.
see it. Instagram has allowed me the ability to see it in a lot different of a light. And I was a little stubborn about it, as I am with most things. I I was just like, what is it like? This is cork mats. Like, I'm making a cork mat. Yeah, it's cool. Like, you got what you wanted on it. It's a great product. I was really focused on just delivering a great product and an upgrade where people could could just have something that was better than what their turntable came with, that kind of is like a gateway into the experience.
Right.
It was the stuff you're talking about, that Instagram and just communication like you and I are having, and having it with other people, other customers, that allowed me to see that, wait a second, this is a little bit, when this gets into someone's hand, it's a lot different than just a cork mat. So that's a new revelation for me, to be able to see it that way. And it's fascinating and it's exciting to be part of it, because deep down, that's, I think, the only reason why I'm involved in audio is, it's a very egocentric market, and club, so to speak, where a lot of people just want to tell you all these great things, and it involves talking about stuff that you own. And I get to see people just respond to it a lot different and feel included and excited. And to me, like, if that really, it couldn't get any more basic than that, to see the engagement and excitement. And it comes from something like a cork mat, and like you said, identifying with it in some way, whether it's a joke, whether it's something they really like, a design, whatever. It's awesome, and I'm really excited about it, to be quite honest, because I'm seeing it in a totally different light.
Well, the thing that's so cool is that, like, your philosophy about audio and your philosophy about hi-fi is so much deeper than, I mean, the first time you and I spoke on the phone, right? We were on for easily over an hour. And I know that maybe,
let's call it what it is.
Maybe. But I think it really, the way that you exude positivity, the way that you talk about inclusion, the way that you are, and you have a very no nonsense side too. Like, when we're talking about trolls and like people that are just, a-holes and stuff, it's like, boo, for sure. But you're very quick to turn it around and say, yeah, but look at what we're doing. Look at what so-and-so is doing. Look at all these positive things that are happening. And your place on the path to help, not just to push yourself forward, but to help other people go forward. And that, to me, is something that we need more of. And so I'd like to know, what are some things, like, I'm sure you have people messaging you often and regularly. If somebody asks you, like, well, what's the purpose of this mat? Like, it just looks like a giant coaster. I'm just starting out. What do you tell them? How can you encourage them to be educated and informed, but also to be inspired to want to, know more?
Right. Well, that's a good question. And I guess, when you mention about my no nonsense side, I think what it is, it's really because, it's an emotional thing. I think when you want to see things a certain way, and this is with anything in life, you want to see things a certain way, and you have expectations of how people are going to respond and react, and you put, pride into something because you're trying to generate a very particular response, and that response is positive. And when someone acts outside of that, it's hard sometimes to step back, level yourself out, and keep an understanding that that's going to happen. But it is disappointing, because it works against the image, and it's kind of defeatist to audio in general. So that's why I kind of get a little bit animated, so to speak, about that type of stuff. But really, so if someone asks me that, because I don't really have a lot of, I think, something that's detrimental to the industry, and I know you and I share a lot of the same thoughts on this, is how people get their information. And again, because it's such an egocentric thing, and because people don't ask questions, you're in a position where now you're allowed to talk about what you have, and you may even feel that it's benefiting the other person, and it may, but that constant bombardment of people talking about what they have and what they think is the best and what they believe is the reason for something, I think turns a lot of people off into audio. And as you said, these questions are coming from people that want to get into it. So if they hit that wall right away, they're less likely to get into it. or
Right.
less likely to even make a decision at all, which means they're not moving. There's no forward progression into,
Right.
audio, the whole community as a whole. So if someone asked me that, to get back to your question about what it, first and foremost, they have to, I would have to ask them why they want to buy it. Like, what is their main intention? Like, is it to have artwork on it, to change the appearance of something? Or is it because they're having a legitimate problem? And one of the problems I get most off of, and which is a highly talked about subject, is static. So cork is non-ionic, so it will not collect and attract ions that cause static. So that's a very, very positive thing. So you're not putting something on your turntable that's going to attract static. And obviously, I mean, I don't need to explain the detrimental side of static. The problem is that without asking questions, the cork mat may not solve the problem. Static is an environmental thing. There's so many other things that go to it. But really, I guess I would just start by asking a lot of, like, what is their motivation to buy the cork mat? And if they tell me that they bought a table, it came with a felt mat, or it came with a very basic rubber mat. Again, we're talking tables $300, $400, $500. The companies save money on the mats, knowing that the customer's going to change it out and buy something different.
Right.
So if you're already having that conversation, owning a cork mat is never going to be going backwards. Like, you're never going to go backwards. And when you made the decision to buy your turntable, the aesthetics, the attachment emotionally to it, what you wanted it to look like, feel like, the whole experience, the mat is part of that. Or now it can be part of that, because it's not just a blank, felt mat. But I think ultimately it's important to understand why someone is looking for it, and if it's because they want something specific that's an emotional thing, or they're trying to fix a problem, because they're two totally distinctive answers.
Sure. But the good news is that you can get both in
absolutely.
a mat
Sure.
from Analog Restorations. That's
I mean, that's the plan. Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So, okay. Audio Acoustic Engineering has a good question. Do you need to measure or reset the stylus preload?
So here's the thing. So it's not going to change. So that's actually a very good question. It was a lot of thought that went into making these mats. When these mats are made, the roll that they're cut from doesn't start out at this thickness. I specifically chose the thickness of 0.19 inches, which is slightly, it's just about the same size as most turntables that you would buy, the mat that it would come with, under $600 or $700. And the reason is because those turntables typically don't have a VTA adjustment. So now if I'm going to provide a product that needs to benefit someone, I need to make certain that it works within the guidelines that their tables have. So in other words, if their table has a very specific range on a non-adjustable VTA, I need to make a product that fits that, so it doesn't adversely affect their turntable. So with that, if you have most, like any Project or, a Fluence or any of those tables, a U-turn specifically, you do not need to make any adjustments at all. But you do, here's an important thing, you do have to pull off the old mat. It doesn't sit on top of, and that's funny, but it's it's more common than not. And again, that's because it's a learning thing. You have to say, again, most of the people that I spend time having conversations with, vinyl is a very, very new thing to them. So their experience is limited to really what they've read on the internet and what's physically in their hands. So, but you do want to pull off the old mat. So the felt mat, pull it off, put it directly on top of the platter. Again, you don't have to, because you don't have a VTA adjustment on most of these turntables. If you do, even better, you can fine tune it and dial it in, but you're going to find that the thickness is the same as almost especially all the rubber mats coming off of the table. And it's slightly taller than a felt mat, obviously. but it's going to
Right.
be well within the range of what those turntables need to operate productively. So it's less homework.
Right.
You take it out of the
Cool.
bag, you put it on your turntable, and you listen to records like you've been doing all along.
Right.
So
We have a really cool, it's not a question, but it's a great comment. And I happen to know, because I checked on, if you're seeing me looking down, it's because I have my phone monitoring the Facebook feed. So there's somebody called Facebook user who's actually, their name is Barney, but it would be really nice if LPs could be made clear so that the listeners could see the mat spin like artwork.
right. So
Right? That'd be kind of
right, which is, so there's a couple.
There are some that have that.
Right. And when I had made a platter mat, excellent couple. They're from Canada. Grape Vinyl is their tag on their Instagram. They're a great couple. They're really informative. You can just tell that they really, really love music. One of the mats that I created for them, they wanted specifically for a lot of clear vinyl that they have.
Nice.
So that way their logo would show through and make the platter mat or the record look splattered. Now the grooves distort, the grooves distort the image a little bit, but everything that they were putting on it that was clear looked right up your alley, purple splattered. All different shades of purple. And it was awesome. But that was one of the reasons, was because they wanted it to look cool with clear vinyl. It's an odd thing, but it's really cool. Again, these are like conversations
it's not uncommon.
Yeah, like to have these conversations are kind of awesome, because again, it morphed into something so much more exciting than, again, just a cork mat. Like this is, these people own this now. It's like part of their
like that's
conversation.
Their thing. That's part of their part of their identity. Speaking of cool things, I want to know, because I didn't actually ask you, how did you come up with the idea? Because I take credit for a lot of stuff that I do. And anybody that knows me knows that. But I cannot take credit for this, because one day I got a DM from you and you were like, yo, I've got a surprise for you. I'm making you something. And I thought, what else is there? He makes cork mats. Like I kind of figured like a coaster, okay, because it's out of cork. Right. And then this picture showed up and I was like, what is that? And I had assumed that you had made the coaster and that you just superimposed my logo onto a frost, just like a frost glass for marketing purposes. And you went, nope, made you a glass, made you a bar set. And I was like, what just happened? So how did you come up with that? And you can't say that it was something boring like, oh, I have a relationship with the manufacturer and I had some left over. It's got to be more glamorous than that,
it's really just because, I mean, I'm a massive nerd. So it really is just like, now that I was able to print and I really fine-tuned the ability to put some really neat stuff on cork mats, now I have some ridiculously expensive equipment, and I'm like, this stuff has to be able to do something cooler than just making mats. Right. And what it turned into, the reason is because a lot of when you talk about branding and identity and shops, like they're buying these mats because they want it to not be a slip mat. Like people want something better than a slip mat. They want something more refined. And shops know this. People's tastes are more refined, even if they're not spending a lot of money. It's also something that's going to be in a lot of family rooms and out in the open. It's a centerpiece for a lot of rooms. It's a conversation piece. So with that, a lot of shops knew that, like, hey, we don't want slip mats anymore. They're like $2. It's not right for home audio. It's not right for the experience. So when I started selling to shops, I was like, you know what? I think it would be great if I could just surprise a lot of shops with some promotional items. So I started sticking things like glass, because now I'm like, well, now I have the stuff to make it. So these glasses, I was like, let me just stick a couple. So when a shop opens the box, they got like a set of glasses in there, or coasters, or like other stuff. And you know what I want them to do? Keep them for yourself. I give them enough for themselves and their employees, and then give them to your customers. do whatever you want. But that was like, so it, like, to me, it was just a way for them to get their logo onto something else that they could be excited about.
Right.
And so it was always set up as more of like a surprise. It just shows up in the box. I don't like tell them I'm sending it. It just shows up in the box.
Although now we have a plan, though.
Right. No, you saw it beforehand,
like, now we've got like a whole a rollout apparently, and I love it because it's so perfect for Hi-Fi Happy Hour. Because it's weird to like, I have my THG mug and I have my Hi-Fi Superstars mug. It's weird to put an alcoholic beverage in a coffee mug. It just feels.
I mean, unless you have a problem and it's 8 o'clock in the morning and you're trying to hide something.
I had a friend that was like that, actually.
Oh, a friend. Okay.
Not me, but yeah,
we
not
all
me.
Had friends. Right. Of course. Right. We had a friend.
I had a friend. No, but it's cool because I really like, I keep holding this up like it's some sort of product placement. And I can't, there we go. I have to get used to this camera is different than on Instagram. So when I turn it one way, it goes the other way.
And so mine obviously has your logo.
Show everybody.
But on the back.
Wait, I never saw that before tonight. How come? Okay, I need.
It might have been made 20 minutes before we had this conversation.
Those have to go in. Those have to be some sort of limited edition bar set thing because I have now. I'll tell you, Chris. We have a number of people that have requested the purple speakers. And Jim Thompson at Eggleston Works has put a moratorium on it. He said, purple, that's her color. We customed that for her. Lamborghini stepped in to help with it. We're not doing purple. You can have any other color in the world. You're not getting purple. So Eggleston Works apparently, I don't know if they stopped doing purple specifically, but they don't do this particular color purple. That I can tell you. So that glass would be so funny to send him.
Let's just say it can be done. It can
be done. Well, show them. Okay, so show them the front because your glass.
Oh
wait,
no!
Is yours the? No. Go ahead. Show to them. So
this
everybody knows what Victoria looked like.
This is why I look at everything when I make. So for some reason, Victoria is missing the bottom part of her jaw.
So there's mine.
Yeah, it totally changes the whole feel. To be quite honest,
right.
I drink out of this and I automatically feel sad. I don't know why.
Oh no! Don't feel sad. Feel happy.
But I had it here, and I'm like, well, what else am I going to do with it? So let me just put something on the other side. And
that is so brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
But see, this is what makes. I think honestly, like, this is what makes hi-fi such a unique, such a valuable, and vital community and hobby and industry. Is like we haven't talked about gear for the past 33 minutes and 10 seconds. Like we can, but it's more about this. It's more about getting along and finding commonalities and laughing and having fun and relating to one another, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, audio. And look, we can talk for a long time about all the critical things that we believe happen to change the industry and to make it what it is. And, and it's not just audio, it's a lot of different things and people's involvement and how they react and stuff like that. And I think there is a way to easily sidestep all that because there's an easy way to get caught up in it. And unfortunately, when you're caught up in it, a lot of times you lose the perspective to even know that you're caught up in it.
Right. That's very true.
So it takes conversations like what you do, a lot of other groups, like, when you hear them speak about audio in general, when you hear them talk, you understand that they kind of sidestepped it and they're not caught up in it. And it feels to me like, wow, I thought I was the only one that was outside of the thing, like outside of all this behavior, that I'm like looking at audio, that it's something different. And then you find out that no, it's not. There's a lot of people like yourself that are viewing audio and it's almost like a crusade. I don't want to say like an evangelist, but you're like in this,
What did you call it on the website? You had this word that you used.
Well, I think I might have used crusade.
Did you? Okay, I can't remember. I almost
And
want to
then
go look it up.
initiative. And initiative to me is a fascinating word, because what happens is, like, initiative is the product of having initiative. So like it's, so it's and I think that that's what's starting to happen, is where people like myself and you, and when I talked about how I get animated, I think it's because I'm upset that someone might have missed an opportunity to experience what I know so many other people, including myself, have. And I know through your personal experiences, you obviously have, then you lost it and then you got it again. And that's easy to happen because life gets in the way, other things happen, you start to lose perspective. And like, audio is there, whether it's on the creation side or the person listening, it's there because it fills everything that it really needs to outside of our normal routine. It's a way to escape, relate, experience, have an emotional connection to, that you're not going to relatively get from anything else. And I think when you get caught up in all this, people lose that. And then I get upset when I see that it's a missed opportunity for someone to experience that. And then they don't go the necessary steps afterwards, because they almost were made to feel like they were incorrect. They're not hearing things right. They're not experiencing things right. Or they didn't make even the right purchase. That someone told them it wasn't the right thing, or they go online and they get trashed, and people take a lot of what they read to heart now. And what that did is it created the potential for someone to not experience what you and I and so many other people can experience. And that's awful. That's awful. I mean, it would be awful in any other thing, and it's awful in audio also.
Sure.
So I really think that that's why I get animated and upset, because I think it's a missed opportunity for something that could have relatively been avoided, for something as simple as just basic human nature.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the thing that is so I had this discussion. I was on the SVS Audiophile Happy Hour yesterday, day drinking with the guys, which was a lot of fun. And if you tuned in, you heard some
wine
of
at 3:31 in the afternoon. Yes.
Wine at 3:30 in the afternoon on a Thursday, and I was drinking out of this glass. And yeah, this is actually, yesterday was the world premiere of the THG bar set, as a matter of fact. But one of the things that somebody wrote in the comments, something very astute. They said, it's so funny because if you're out drinking beer or wine with a friend and they say, hey, try this stout or whatever, right? I'm paraphrasing. And you try it, you're like, I don't really like it. And they go, oh, well, it's my favorite. You don't then go, well, you suck and you're wrong and I'm not friends with you anymore, and walk out of the bar. I mean, that's a little excessive, right? But why do we do that? Well, we don't, but why do people do that in audio? Or like, if somebody goes, well, I'm ordering the steak, and then somebody else goes, well, I'm vegetarian, and then the carnivore goes, I can't hang with you, you horrible person, and then they leave. That seems quite, it's there's a lot of chagrin in the audio community. I don't know if it's because a lot of it's done online, and so people get brave behind a keyboard, or if they like genuinely feel that way. But I find it hard to believe,
Well, you know what it is? It's the people that do that have louder voices than the people who don't say anything, obviously. So what I think happens is, when you're not really immersed in the industry, and maybe you're just trying to learn, or you're trying to research things or read about things, and that's fine. You want to go online and you want to do that. You're constantly only hearing the loudest voices, and the loudest voices tend to be, again, egocentric. They tend to be negative in a way. So I think what happens, the best thing I can come up with, like, when my I remember when we were having our first child, my wife and I was like, man, everybody's pregnant. Everywhere I go, everybody's pregnant. It's because I'm hanging out and like Babies R Us and like places like that. Well, of course everybody's pregnant. Like that's where I'm at.
Yes.
Right. So like it's easy to say, well, everybody talking is negative. Well, that's because that's the only people that are talking. That's what needs to change. That's what needs to flip. And that's why when I first talked to you, I think I said, like, it sounds like your ideals are more of an initiative. They're more of like something that you're trying to bring to the forefront. And that's a voice that has normally been stifled or not read because it's been skipped over because everything else is louder. Why there's that need to be negative? It's not just isolated to audio. I think there is a section in audio where you have, I think a lot of times because a substantial amount of money is spent where it's also unnecessary. And what I mean by unnecessary is nobody's required. It's not like you got to go buy a car.
It's elective.
It's 100% elective.
Yeah, gotcha.
And you spend a decent amount of money. And a lot of times you also may even hang out with other people that don't understand it. They might not be into audio. So when you hang out with those, you're like itching to either justify your purchase or to say, I spent this much money. There's no way I could be wrong.
Right.
That's not the point of the conversation.
Right.
Why can't it be like, I spent this much money and I'm happy
with it? Right. This is my choice.
But instead it's like this stance of defensiveness because I think a lot of times you're already in the defense of trying to justify the money. So you justify it in terms that aren't even part of the conversation. And then next thing you know, the conversation's not about enjoying music and you've lost sight. And you know what? Some people, that's fine. Be there, whatever. Just don't ruin it for everybody else.
And that's why on the last, was it on? I can't remember if it was on the Acoustic podcast or if it was on Audioholics, where we were having a similar conversation, right? All the guests, and I blurted out, "What the hell do you know, bicycle repair man?"
Correct. This is the segue. Here we go. Yes.
And the next thing I knew, because I was, and nothing against bicycle repairmen, right? The idea was to find a profession that was so unrelated.
And I think you said bicycle repair guy, which to me sounds even more offensive for some reason.
Sorry. So then I get this.
Like man, like you're just some guy.
No sooner do I say it than I get, and I'm watching out of the corner of my eye because I always have my phone with me monitoring the feeds. I see this DM pop up from you, and it's like, I used to own a bicycle shop. And I was like, oh, crap, the one profession that I picked. Like, I couldn't have said, like, giraffe trainer.
Right.
I went for bicycle.
But now you just offended giraffe. Now, I feel that might be a smaller audience. I know a lot of bicycle repair guys. Okay. I don't know any giraffe trainers.
Bicycle repair people.
Right, like person people. Yeah. Like we could change that for sure. Right. You know.
So this is
so that's a yes. I used to
asking about.
I owned a bicycle shop.
I was that guy.
Yeah, I was that guy. Yes, yeah. I owned a bicycle shop and I did repair bicycles. While I had a bicycle shop that had a pretty epic sound system for a bicycle shop that nobody cared about ever.
So I have to shout out two people. One is Acoustic said, "Don't mess with bicycle repair people." And then my good friend Gerg, who is a wonderful award-winning radio DJ in New England, said, #save the giraffes.
I feel, hold on, like if we can tie that in, that's pretty epic. Like we can probably do something with that. Yeah. Like it's nobody, like it will
riding a bicycle.
Right. This will go viral and nobody will know. They'll think we're saving giraffes. I mean, at this point, we should probably actually like donate money to saving giraffes or something.
I think so, probably.
But right,
why don't we save bicycle repair persons?
Yeah, like person. Yeah. Repairers, yeah, general
Repairers. That's a good
that's
point.
right,
That's a
right.
good point.
Or just
So,
mechanic, not even give it a just mechanic, bicycle
just
mechanic.
mechanic. There you
Right,
go. There
right,
you go. Right. Oh goodness. So that's the
yeah.
inside joke, everybody. Now you know the whole bicycle repair person, mechanic,
Right.
human.
And if you picked someone
thing.
else, you would have offended somebody else. So
I'm
it
sure
doesn't matter.
somebody would have.
Right. I wasn't
hopped on.
offended. I just thought it was, look, your point was driven home very well in what you were trying to say. And you had to say something. You had to just say any profession, but it wasn't the topic of, it wasn't the takeaway. But for me, I was like, I'm going to take that away because I can get mileage on that.
I legit, and then
right.
I in my head I was like, oh man, am I about to get canceled? Like, am I going to get cancel cultured by the bicycle repair people's union or something?
I was going to make a glass that said the Coalition of Bicycle Repairmen for Audio, but I just thought I'd go this way. But I think that could be a group. Like, you know what? I'm going to make a page on my website for them.
I think you should show acoustics the back of, read out what the back of the glass, your glass says, because they'll get it.
I asked Santa for purple speakers and all I got was this glass.
And we're going to send that to Jim Thompson at Eggleston Works.
So an audio acoustic is right. Audiophiles and bikes go hand in hand. And when we were talking about personalities and things like that, they're very shared. And maybe that's, you know, like I see the correlation. I was my bicycle shop was in a relatively affluent area. I did carry a lot of high-end bikes, one, because I wanted to, and that's the mistake you make when you're a young business owner, and two, because I needed to. So with that, when you dealt with that that purchase was very much the same as audio. It was no different for a lot. Like, it's the same exact conversations because it's such an emotional thing. And then you talk to other people, they're like, it's just a bicycle. And then I talk to other people, they're like, it's just speakers. You know, but like, is it? You know what I mean? Like that, yeah, now you're upset. You weren't upset at the bicycle comment, but that upset you. Yeah.
Well, no, I understand. No, because audio acoustic engineering is saying that many audiophiles love bikes. And actually, I know that he is a bike aficionado as well.
Right. And it is in the way I look at, but like, I mean, I'm not going to show you now, but like my bikes are displayed like no different than how you would display a piece of artwork. And again, because I'm a nerd, it's just what I do. But I look at a lot of them and I see it in a completely different way. Much the same that people view their audio. Like audio is aesthetic as well. Like if not, the stuff would all just come in a shoebox. Like it doesn't, like your speakers are purple because you want them to be purple. My speakers aren't purple because I want them to be purple and I'm not allowed to have them to be purple. So
you have Jim's email.
I digress. I should have brought that up. Yeah, I shouldn't have brought that up. Listen, so but the point, like you look at a bicycle the same way, you're making decisions the same way because it's all emotional.
Sure.
The difference
and bicycles, forgive me for interrupting, but also bicycle, because I have a couple cyclist friends. Cycling culture has a lot of components too.
Oh, there is. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
All of the things that it's not just when you go and you buy the frame of the bike and you're done. It's like all the other stuff. It's like you don't just buy speakers, you got to buy the cables and the amps and the preamps and everything else. So there's a whole culture of building it. Right.
And then you go one step further and you ask yourself the question, and this is the root of cycling. You just get caught up in the equipment because it's the conduit that allows you
to have the experience.
The reason for getting into it, no different than audio.
I see. Right. Got it.
So you go one step further with cycling, and then you're having conversations about what does this bike allow me to do? And then what does this bike allow me to experience? What's that?
It sounds like the great cable debate.
Yeah. Right. Like, well, I mean, I was thinking more so of just like listening to music and your experience that you have with music, your overall takeaway.
Mhm.
your experience, that so you go beyond the equipment with a bicycle and you're like, what has this bicycle allowed me to experience? What has it given to me?
Right.
And audio is the
Right.
same question.
Sure.
And it's not, it's given me debt, or it's given me, because that's true, or it's this cable has provided me this. I'm not
Right.
looking for one particular pinpointed thing to say,
Right.
like, you don't go and say, well, this lasagna tastes great because of this one ingredient in the sauce. View it as a whole entire
Right.
experience,
Right.
and bikes are that way and audio's that way. Like you
Right.
said, there's so many different components.
Sure.
My interest lies in not necessarily the individual components, but what is that person's experience? What is their takeaway? And it was
Mhm.
that way with bicycles. Like if they can get on the bike, go out on the road, and be gone for 2 hours and forget that everything else existed, best thing in the world. Audio and music's the same way. There's more
Sure.
components to music, because now someone created it for you to do that.
Right.
It's much, much more
Right.
involved. And I think that's just incredible. And that's, I guess, goes back to what we're saying, where I think um, the voices of the negative people need to be just sidestepped, and the people who want something a little bit greater need to be
Right.
part of a conversation with everybody else who wants things to be greater.
Yeah, and I feel like through things like what we're doing together and acoustics and our whole hi-fi Instagram and now YouTube community, like I feel like there's way more positivity that outweighs the negative. Do you feel that? Like, do you
Oh,
feel
sure. Yeah.
there's
I mean,
starting to be a shift as well?
there's no doubt. And I think the word, like, because obviously I think about this stuff a lot. Whether that's a psychological problem, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I may need to see one. I don't know that either. But the the thing I think, and as I was saying, with people just getting into it, it's a
Mhm.
confidence. For some
Mhm.
reason, people don't have the confidence to trust themselves, and they're putting it in the hands of other people.
Right.
And a lot of the other people are saying, well, no, you're not hearing that correctly. You're not thinking about that correctly. You're not feeling that
Right.
correctly, which to me is insane that
Right.
someone would accept someone telling that. So when acoustics, yourself, and the conversations we've had is to allow people to say, you got this. Like, this is you. This experience is on you and whoever else you want to share what you're feeling with,
Right.
not anything that involves someone else telling you. I don't know. I just got distracted. Someone else is waiting for me. I think they were blocked. I don't
They
know
were
what that
blocked
was.
because it's somebody wanting to do nefarious things to people, and I don't
Audio
allow
does.
that in my world.
Audio
Pardon?
audio gets people. Audio gets people riled up. I get it.
Uh, well, this person I think was riled up in probably some sort of a weird empty office phone bank somewhere,
Yeah, yeah.
working in a scam pyramid scheme or something. But I hear what you're saying, and it's you're right that there's not only a lack of self-confidence, but there is an assumed trust that is
Oh,
given
absolutely.
when you
Sure.
go into augment your system or your audio journey or whatever you're doing, and you're actually banking on the fact that the dealer or the manufacturer rep or whomever is qualified to connect with you, not qualified in their information,
Right.
but information. I learned recently, or I should say I was reminded recently, that information and knowledge are not the same thing always.
Right.
So
Right.
somebody can be informed and just spout a bunch of stuff at you and sound very educated and very well spoken, but that doesn't mean that they're actually connecting with you.
Right.
And that's
Right.
so important in, I think, in hi-fi, to make sure that you have those connections. And so this is just one small way. And it's funny because I know when I asked you to come on uh, as a guest, you were like, why? It's because I think people can.
We just had a conversation about confidence, and you're just like, I'm like, why? Yeah, right? Like, why?
But that's literally what you wrote to me. Was you're like, why? And I
That's
sort of
true.
went,
I'm not denying it. Yeah, no, that's exactly
and
what
I
I
was
said.
like,
Yes.
I'm not sure I understand his question. What do you mean, why? I'm not sure I understand the question. Like, after the hours we've spent on the phone talking and building this initiative and rolling this thing out, I was like, because you have really good information, you have wisdom. More than that, you have encouragement and experience to share with people. And like we said at the beginning, right? Coming in at a position where you're looking at mats, you're looking at already improving your system. You may be on a budget, you may not be, that's okay. But you're looking at doing something special for yourself. And that means that if you go to analogrestorations.com, you're there for very particular reasons. And that might actually make you more of a particular type of person than not, because you're seeking out something that's quite specific. It's deep stuff. Actually, you know, it is. It's good stuff. So analogrestorations.com, soon to be coming to emicomusic.com/shop, which I think I need to change to something a little bit more dignified. We'll see. I'll give the slug URL a different name soon. What is, I'm just curious in the last few minutes that we have, other than, not that I want to go there, but other than the THG stuff, like I know you've got some really cool design. I've been seeing a bunch of really cool designs that you've been putting up. What's coming up next for you in addition to the THG stuff that we're doing?
So you mean like just normal customer retail, like separate from your designs? So what I kind of decided to do was to revamp a lot of the designs, and I'm just coming out with a lot different of graphics that can be put on it that maybe people relate to in a different way. Some are funny, some aren't, some are basic. Just
There's a good
really
spread of stuff.
revamping the appearance
Yeah.
instead of generic, like cookie cutter stuff. I've had a tremendous amount of fun doing that. My capabilities are relatively limited in terms of, you know, creativity is funny because what I find creative is set inside walls that it's the only way I'm creative. You bring in someone else, and I know we talked about, you know, Dan Spangler at Merge doing your
Merge Creative,
logo.
right.
Right. Him doing your logo. He's
yep.
designing he has a completely different way to do art that I can't visualize. I'm more analytical. I don't see things in that way. And I've a lot of admiration for the ability to see things in that way, just like your ability to play an instrument. I can't play an instrument. Fascinates me
fix
that
a bicycle.
Let's not. We were
just
past
saying.
That. So
I'll walk it back. Okay.
I can't train giraffes.
There you go.
But anyway, so the it like to play an instrument is I don't even understand how anybody could even do it. My brain just doesn't work that way. I'm like, well, you read the music and you play exactly what it says. Then someone's like, well, I can't even read music. I'm like, well, huh? You have to. That's the only way you can play an instrument. They're like, no, you just feel it. That doesn't even make sense. So like art's the same way. So like bringing on Dan and someone who does art for a living sees things in a way that I can't conceptualize. So to put his stuff in combination with my stuff that I've been coming up with onto mats, I think now is just a completely new, diverse field that it's really just going to offer something for anybody. I mean, we still do our custom stuff. We have a lot of people that say, I want this on a mat. Can you do this? Of course we can.
Right.
But for that, I like this. I never saw anything like it. I want this on my turntable, whatever. I think we're going to become a lot more diverse that way. And that stuff's happening very, very fast. Very fast. So that's really what I want, is just to, I guess, make it a little bit more diversive on there. You know?
Yeah, I love that. Everybody should go check out analogrestorations.com. You just redid the website. Looks amazing. Very community minded. There's a lot of explanation on there, a lot of really great information and wisdom. And it's wonderful. No, it's wonderful because it really does feel like you're entering a community and not just there to buy a product. There's nothing sterile about what you're doing. And that I think is really important for people to understand. Like if they have a website, I want them to go because I want them to see how warm and welcoming it is, and how much choice there is, right? You can pick and choose from a myriad of designs, and soon THG, and and also the fact that, like, I know Dan very well, I know you fairly well, I know myself, getting to know myself better on a daily basis. We all work differently and we all think differently, and yet we're all working together in a way because we all listen to each other, right? And so in audio, like, that's another really great example of how things can get done and move forward, is by people with different skill sets and different perspectives coming together to the table to go, hey, what can we do together to make this happen? And I think that collaborative energy is what the next generation, which is really us, right, and our contemporaries, are going to bring forth into the industry. And I'm very grateful for you.
Oh, well, thank you. Likewise. Yeah, I knew the first conversation we had, it was just different, and it was not what I expected. Most of my conversations are.
What were you expecting?
I
or is that a different hi-fi happy
I
hour
would
altogether?
never say your face. No. 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 What I mean is, like, a lot of the conversations I have are very they're very straightforward. Hi, I'm a shop. I want to buy these. I want to put them on my website.
Right.
Right. How much is it for, 300 platter mats? And
right.
Great, that's fine. Like, I'm not disappointed. I still like I'm more excited when they get it. Mm-hmm. When I had the conversation with you, that was like the smallest fraction of our conversation. Like, yeah, you're going to have these mats on your website. They're going to kick ass. Everybody's going to buy them. It's an awesome design. It's an awesome, like, I think everything about that's awesome. But my understanding, right, just from having a conversation, was like, this seems deeper, and you allowed me to, like, view even what I do in a much greater way. As I said in the beginning, I started thinking about, like, it's not just cork mats. It's not just this. It's something greater. But
it's part of the hi-fi. It's part of the hi-fi life, and I think that's what's so important. So everybody, please go check out analogrestorations.com. I will put it analogrestorations.com. There, now everybody has it. Chris Rensman, thank you so much for being. This is episode 31 of Hi-Fi Happy Hour, but it's episode 1 on YouTube on a new platform. So thank you for being our inaugural guest. I really enjoyed having you on here, and you're welcome back anytime. See, it's not that scary, is it?
No, I'm not scared. I'm going to probably cry for about the next hour and a half. But no, it's not that scary. No, I'm fine. It was good. I enjoyed being here. So thank you.
I'm so glad. And thank you everybody so much for tuning in tonight. Tune in next week when I have to do the math. My guest is, hold on, I have to look at the calendar. I should know this, but Trevor Dale of Album Divers podcast. Trevor is a wonderful young man who is all sorts of into music and hi-fi, very active in the hi-fi community. And if you don't know who he is, then you need to go read my Enjoy the Music article about him, which I'll post up in a separate link. Tune in next Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Everybody else, please do your time zone math. And Chris, like I said, you're welcome back anytime. Thank you so much. And look out for the new THG stuff that's coming from Analog Restorations. And everybody have a great night being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Anytime.
All right. Bye.